Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to Europe. Welcome to episode 5 of the XDI Experience Live Show. This week we are doing a slightly different show. First up, and for our main discussion today, we're going all things electric. And then for the first time ever, we are bringing you all the main news over the last 7 days in 15 minutes. You watch it in a few minutes. I am going at 100 miles an hour to go through the news. And we are covering ACES, new tech aerospace and defense, and a little bit of PLM, smart manufacturing from Dassault Systèmes. Quick update on the news. Headlines are Amazux. Yeah, that is the Amazon Zux deal. Update on that. Aurora, we are looking at a little bit of Fisker. Yeah, they are back big time. Update from GM and their latest Caddy range of EVs, and GMC goes military. Lots. In fact, no show would be complete without Elon and Tesla when you're talking electrification. Volvo and Maserati are coming in strong, and we've got a little bit of a small aerospace and defense update. Lastly, finishing up with some latest results out of Dassault Systèmes, together with some construction industry updates and a new acquisition, and why not? So let's get going, shall we? Marks, set, go. So as the modern world continues to grow, so does a huge appetite for power and energy. Energy generation over the last 15 years has doubled and is set to do so once again over the next 30 years. But the problem is only 25% of power generation is from renewables. We have to triple that by 2050. That is the demand. The shift, of course, will be driven by electrification, mobility such as electric vehicles, passenger cars, trucks, buses, scooters, ships, and even planes. Today's guest to delve into that a little deeper is EvoLectric, and their mission is to advance global electrification by enabling and providing expertise that will unlock current and new electrification technologies to underserved markets. So let's discuss that more with Bill Beverley and Jakson Alvarez. Well, Bill, good morning. Jakson, good morning. How are you guys?
Morning, doing well.
How's Long Beach?
It looks good so far. We can almost see the hills out there. It's quite a nice day.
A clear day, a better day than down here in Laguna Hills. We are cloudy and overcast, but I'm sure that'll change. But anyway, let's get on with things. Guys, give us a quick 1.5 minute OG story, your backgrounds. Bill, kick us off.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Bill Beverley. I'm one of the two co-founders, Jakson and myself. I'm in charge of engineering and technology. My background is mechanical engineer. I started in aerospace, worked my way up from a draftsman and a CAD expert, ended up leading as a project lead for a large-scale commercial aircraft program. And then, that was a great time. But after about 10 years of that, I wanted to try the challenge of a startup, basically. So I applied to Faraday Future, just down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good guys in there, and spread off into other fairly well-known EV companies to get things on the road.
Absolutely. I always thought, Tesla came first. It was the kind of the great incubator, but Faraday was a very good technical incubator to carry the mission forward. So there are a lot of great people that came out of that.
Yeah.
So worked briefly there in the team with the battery team, the powertrain team, became special programs, worked on motorsports programs, really cut my teeth on some cutting edge tech, carried that over into a company called Romeo Power, battery startup. We stood up their technical sales and applications team, generated a lot of revenue on plan, really helped grow the organization. And then after, about 2 years of doing that and working with them, great team there as well, I decided it was time to start tackling a different type of customer and therefore start my journey on EvoLectric.
Fantastic. Jakson, tell us.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. So co-founder, as Bill mentioned, more on the finance and strategy, business side of things. My background is finance and accounting, supporting decision-making across the board. So manufacturing, supply chain, engineering, sales, marketing, and overall strategy and corporate planning. But my story, my passion comes more from entrepreneurship and just how, it can be an enabler to level the playing field for change and innovation. So I've been working on those skill sets for over 15 years now. Where
did that come from? How did you start when did you start being an entrepreneur? How old were you?
I was back in Colombia when I was 10. My dad owned a restaurant at our house, and I had a small candy business within the restaurant. So that's really where it started.
Did he know about it?
Oh, he did. I was also helping with serving and different things like that, just as helping out here and there. But I just loved helping in that aspect. So and I continued that in that journey in high school. I was big on buying and reselling cars and electronics, and then college I was running a delivery service business, and then now on the side I actually have a 10 fleet car rental business.
You've never stopped hustling.
Part of it.
You bet. That's great. That's a real pedigree of entrepreneurship. Good partner for you there, Bill. So let's just kind of move forward. What was that aha moment? Where did the idea to start this business come from?
So for me, I was, as I mentioned, from Bogota, Colombia. So I was in Colombia at my grandma's birthday celebration, and at that time, and now I have a Tesla. So I was showing the app to my uncle and showing him the
Tesla in Colombia.
No, I was there visiting in Christmas break,
okay.
But yeah, I was looking at the app, showing him, and you see red dots all across the U.S., all across China, but anywhere else it was just missing.
I was looking at the map the other day. It's amazing. There are no superchargers in some of the most modern countries in the world. Things like the UAE, Singapore. I don't think there is one, period, in Southeast Asia. I'm sure similar in South America. Russia doesn't have one. It's amazing to think how much growth potential there still is, even for Tesla, who are the most advanced footprint, let's put it that way, from an EV perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, I also want to mention that, when you're in a city like Bogota, you see smog everywhere. So at that time, I went outside, and, it's just buses and trucks, and it's just constant. And at that point, it was just like, something's really got to change. And I want to be part of that. I want to be part of the solution. And that was sort of my whole moment there.
Great. An entrepreneur through and through. Bill, where did your idea come from?
For me, it was, having the benefit of working with multiple cultures through my own journey in mechanical engineering and aerospace and electrification. These cultures that were comprised of people that come from countries that are really not even, have a tangible grasp on the technology themselves, and they're all benefiting the needs of China, Europe, and the U.S. So they're pumping up these larger organizations and larger markets, and really not getting, a first right to actually receive any of that back to them.
What kind of cultural differences have you seen from those emerging economies to the big powerhouses of China, the US, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, culturally speaking, my own observations have been just the cultures I've been able to work with. Working with India, parts of Eastern Europe, South America. Just the reception to being able to be part of the journey, be part of the learning, the education, and being open and receptive to what that new technology looks like and how it benefits them. So from a cultural experience, and generally from a sort of an energy ecosystem context, big economies versus, emerging economies, the kind of classifications there, but, what makes them different is essentially the big economies have a long established access to the majority of the resources, and they're able to make pivots in technology. When you're moving from ICEs and diesel to vehicle electrification, they have an upstood supply chain that they can kind of leverage. But emerging economies, as I've kind of defined them, they have to generally build those from ground up.
Yeah. And so where is that kind of emotional driver come from that wants to make that difference?
Yeah, I've always been emotionally connected to teaching and bringing products and a teaching environment and technologies to different cultures and different generational gaps. So when I spent time working, like I said, in India and parts of Eastern Europe, especially, just again, what really resonates with me is just the gratefulness, the gratitude that was that I encountered. It left a real mark on me. So there were no expectations from that kind of audience. They were just open and curious. Plus, that kind of curiosity lends pretty well to how I have this natural drive and need to teach and share my own experiences to help level up next generation, whether it be the youth of America, the youth of the world, giving them a contextual understanding of what comes next and making them future thought leaders in this space and one day, better than all of us. So I don't really desire to work with customers or cultural partners, I should say, that just, work towards one particular culture or organization's benefit. I really want to find a worldly perspective in what we do.
Beautiful. Nice. I think you probably touched on it, both of you already, but what is EvoLectric's kind of core why?
Yeah, the real why, I think, to say it in a concise way, is we want to create economic development through electrification technology adoption and also through education, specifically in the emerging markets. So we believe that the world deserves to level up, and it's early enough in the learning phase that other countries, emerging markets can actually follow and pick up on that learning curve pretty quickly and not end up too dependent on these first mover countries that are leading the way currently. Yeah,
I mean, that is, having spent many years in emerging economies, that is hugely fulfilling. I completely share your passion for that. But the entry point and the journey is a rocky road ahead. There's no doubt about it. Plenty of fun and games, often, I regret to say. They often tend to be in hot countries, so you've got very expensive power. And because they're coming out of an environment where it's about food on the table, roof over your head, because it might not be here tomorrow, it tends to have a lot of short-term thinking as well. So you've got a big challenge, and to overcome that is massively fulfilling.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, what you just said there, food on the table, it's something that motivates me from an everyday perspective. And I think back to time spent in, again, I said it before, India. I went there, and on my way to one of the facilities that I was visiting for the day, I look out my window and I see a man fully dressed in a suit with the latest technology in his phone, and then a man who couldn't stand up on his own 2 feet. And there's complexity in the social caste and structures that I have to acknowledge, but at the same time, the paradox of what I was looking at, the juxtaposition of technology and the lack thereof, really opened my mind and the horizon of the greater need of the world and the need of, like you said so eloquently, I mean, just finding better ways to put food on the table for everybody. Yeah.
What is the saying? I think it's something like, don't give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, or something. I know I probably just ruined that, but anyway, that something along those lines. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah. And Jakson, what about you? What do you think the why is in that EvoLectric?
I'll bring to the table a twofold why. As you mentioned at the beginning, the energy demand is rapidly increasing, and renewables are expected to play a big role in that. So we want to work on clean technology that can enable the efficient use of that energy, especially in the transportation and within developing markets, as Bill mentioned. But another part of it has to do with what is referred to as circular economy principles of reducing waste, extending life, reuse, and recycle. And that's actually very dear to my heart, because I was exposed to that very early in my childhood. My brother Roger had a self-sustaining farm, and he was just very clever at figuring out ways of reusing everything and having little to no waste. So that was it's important to me.
You're just a family of entrepreneurs, I got to say. Your dad restaurant, your brother's sustainability, and you. It's funny when you look at those kind of emerging economies. I will never forget the first time I went in to emerging economy. They were cooking a pig, and when they ate it, there was nothing left. It had all gone. Every single scrap, people were picking up things. They were going, yeah, I'm going to make a broth out of this, every piece of it. Whereas you take that same pig and put it into the West with us, and most of it's left, hey? And it's a zero waste. optimization mentality, which is a phenomenal way to go at an entrepreneur business. So yeah, full marks. Love that. Let me give you a quick curveball. One thing that that bugs me, and it bugs others, and I always get asked this because I've been kind of parading the EV flag for a little while now, has been surrounding not necessarily the power generation that fuels the electrification of vehicles, etc., because we know from coal power we're moving forward and that's renewables and whatever else that's happening. But the one that's always a good challenge to have to answer, I'm going to put it your way, is mining materials. So kind of lithium, nickel, cobalt, not only the mining of that and the environmental impact, but also then the transportation of it into the Western economies or further afield, whatever it is. What are we doing to fix that? And what is your argument against that when people say, yeah, but it's not environmental?
I'll start that one. It's a really very good question, and one that ourselves we continuously think about as well. And one of the reasons that EvoLectric, our one of the primary focus is on the circular economy principles because of that. But yes, I mean, we understand this, both from the supply chain contributors and also the materials themselves of the battery. It can be argued that, as you're saying, it's just like, oh, is this actually not cleaner? And then as you mentioned, the source of electricity, and then it makes it a little worse than an argument. But you really have to look at this and take a step back and look at it long term, because there are already improvements that are happening on the supply chain, becoming cleaner. Initiatives like having a passport where it certifies all the components or where they come from and the practices. Materials themselves are shifting to more sustainable ones, especially within the cells themselves. And then, as you mentioned, energy sources are shifting to renewables like solar. And take that and add on the circular economy principles, and then now you combine all that, and we believe that overall it's going to be a net gain in the long term.
Beautiful.
Yep. And to add to that, I mean, like, I think it's important to note that it's kind of the chicken and the egg kind of scenario. Some of those direct transportation technologies that support the mining and the recovery of those materials should and deserve to be electrified. The reliance right now is on fossil fuels because there's just so much power. So, progress in a journey starts with the first step. We have to acknowledge that.
You bet. The saying is, perfection is the enemy of execution. And if we waited for everything to be perfect, we would be waiting for another 10, 15, 20 years to be zero carbon, etc. And if you want to be, follow me here, guys, a Michelin chef, you don't start out as the Michelin chef. You start out probably by flipping burgers, whatever. You just can't wait for perfection. When you look at it, the net of an EV is still better than an ICE, all things considered. So make a step in the right direction. You bet. So let's take a look at what is being brought to the sector today, and what is it that EvoLectric are going to be bringing that you're not seeing elsewhere?
Yeah, I think it's important to start and acknowledge the power of real leadership, of actual visionary leadership. So we, to coin your own phrase there, we flipped some burgers in our time. We learned how to, progress our journey. And we spent some direct time in this space, this energy ecosystem. So we recently transitioned out of director level roles within clean tech organizations. We are already managing large teams. We were successful in enabling those organizations' products and could have made a living continuing to do that. We also have a solid engineering team because our engineering leaders have also spent their entire previous careers in the automotive power transmission space, and they've dived headstrong into the electrification space as well within the last 10 years. One of the other things that makes us, pretty dynamic in this space is the fact that we've been in our careers, we've been able to flip between automotive OEMs, which are sort of the consumers, the top level consumers of that chain, and also between tier one suppliers, so doing a lot of the actual detailed work. So we have the experience of knowing how each side of the coin really plays the game, if so to speak, and knowing what really drives a solution in the end.
So bottom line, guys, bags of wisdom built up over traditional automotive ICE, combined with the new tech, ACES, EV stuff that is going on across the entire ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If I might add, another key differentiator for us is just putting a focus on having a diverse team and backgrounds, cultures, and most importantly, thought process. And we put a lot of importance on making sure it's a collaborative environment.
exactly what we were talking about last week as well, which is this diversity, collaboration. The more diversity, the better the ideas. A little bit of conflict because people come at it from different perspectives. Absolutely what we've been talking about. You bet.
Yes, and since we're our goal is to serve those developing markets, then we have to make sure we're thinking global and we're looking at it from different angles, and that comes from having different experiences.
You bet. Let's get a little controversial, guys. ACEs, autonomous connected electric subscriptions, shared and modularization. I think that was record time for me to say that. What are the common mistakes that you have found in the sector, and even some of the more unusual mistakes that you've come across?
Yeah, we're seeing a trend where mobility product designers are generally approaching the technology as saying the best of the best is what's required for every application. So putting the best in the best requires a lot of extra engineering talent and whatnot. But then in the same hand, they're asking for the lowest prices on the technology, and they're committing to volume that they can't sustain. It's not being sold at mass right now. So something is broken. You
bet. In a collaborative environment, that is just pissing off your ecosystem. It's the wrong way to go. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the way that we want to approach is we believe that application-specific design is what dictates the actual future for technology adoption. So we come in and say, okay, what do you need? What do you want to be doing in the end? What are you willing to understand from your use case? And we provide the solution.
Yeah, got it. So don't over-engineer. Just meet that demand and not over the top. Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in emerging markets, the prevalence of technology, the surplus of technology isn't existent yet. So, their expectations aren't saturated with the pros of get everything you want and more. 0 to 60 doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people out there. So there's a lot of ground to cover with what the basic tech can enable and simplify in their day-to-day. And so by selecting systems and components that are appropriate for each tech expectation, we can empower multiple use cases and wins.
Nice.
Yeah, and I would say when you take that efficient system and it actually can support the economic proposition for those developing markets, which is we want to accomplish. And so you match that system for what it's intended for, and then you add on innovative business and revenue models, and then you can really go after and serve the cost-sensitive markets.
Yeah. What's a kind of a good example of that down in the emerging economies?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot already, and it's just gonna keep increasing over time. But overall, when you take that efficient system and you match it with something like a leasing model or a pay-per-use model, then you're actually maximizing the utilization of that asset, and you're spreading the cost over time and even across multiple users, and therefore you're minimizing the entry point of investment and cost.
Got it. Little audience reminder, questions, guys. Any questions you've got for some electric vehicle experts here, please throw them over. Bill, Jakson, let's look to the future. How do you see that playing out for electrification, EvoLectric?
Yeah, we like to structure our thought process in segments of basically 2 and 5 and 10 years, just to kind of keep our goals, well underway. So in 2 years, our engineering service business is stable. We have customers that are transitioning into a production-ready environment. A lot of the early adopters, early customers and clients we have now are transitioning by that time. But then we also have a blend of new development as well coming in, of course. And in 5 years, we have a grassroots organization, a grassroots team on the ground in select target emerging markets, be it South America, Southeast Asia, whatever is driven by the need and the demand. They're actively participating in that larger local ecosystem, and they're bringing in new self-sustaining opportunities for electrification within their own local backyard. And in 10 years, by then we aspire to be a global organization whose charter is still driven by what I mentioned earlier, the economic development through electrification. So to do that, to enable that, by then we're working actively with academia, public and private sector groups and organizations, and we're easing the adoption of these new technologies in many industries and use cases.
Awesome. And Jakson?
Yeah, I mean, Bill did it very well, but I would add to that again from a 2, 5, 10 year standpoint. That 2 year we want to just figure out how can we increase our value in our offering to our customers, and we want to onboard more partners on the hardware side so we can be the one-stop shop for our customers. And from a 5 year standpoint, then having a regional partner that is helping us bring this technology and commercializing it in those targeted markets, and bringing current partners that are on our journey already and join our journey before going there, like XDI and the engineering tools, and bring them onto those markets as well. And 10-year standpoint, 10-year standpoint, I think it becomes really more about who EvoLectric is, what it stands for, and what's its brand. And we want to make sure that we're recognized as a company that understands profit and that it's important to have a sustainable business model. But we look beyond that and are also prioritizing people, planet, and overall sustainability when it comes to our decision making and growth and where we want to play and where we don't want to play.
Yeah, yeah. Massively rewarding, hugely fulfilling to really kind of help out the rest of the world and bring electrification to everybody. Excited to work with you under the XDI banner. I think our partnership together is going to be pretty exhilarating. Let's go Q&A. Let's see what questions we've got coming in from the audience. We've got interesting. So Don Nohavec, he has asked, if you're ready for this, guys, how are various government entities helping or hindering in building infrastructures to support EV? Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I'll start there. So various government entities helping or hindering in building infrastructure. So mostly in the United States, where there's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of technical output on what's going on, especially in the news. California is one of the leading states that's actually pushing a lot of regulations. They're basically drawing a line in the sand to bring the technology providers to the table. Some people, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek because they realize there's a lot to be done. But especially within the United States, you've got California, you've got Washington, you've got other states and whatnot, just creating regulatory sort of groups with very, very progressive ideals. Outside of the United States, a bit more fragmented. It's a lot more interest-based. In the European areas, especially in the Scandinavian areas, I mean, the passion is there, the culture is there. And in China, the government's doing it.
Norway.
Yeah, Norway is fully adopted. Norway's full in. I mean, I think I read a statistic the other day that 60% of all of their vehicle purchases in the entire country are electric, which is a huge number.
It's ironic when you think their biggest kind of economy was oil and gas up until maybe it probably still is. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's just to put it in a easy sense, but especially in South America, for one thing, to address Don's question, I mean, we're seeing a lot of relationships between private groups and established communities and companies looking to diversify and get into this sector, being helped by the government agencies. The governments are able to actually offer funding and incentives, tax breaks, things like that. So they're doing it more in a classical way, trying to bring business, but they realize that the business they're bringing is really benefiting the world. It's not just, hey, do this so we can raise our GDP, but do this because we need it. We need it to exist. And we're really seeing a lot of that in South America, particularly.
Good. Great. Thank you, Don. Next question, Umi. What are some of the most exciting electric vehicles you are seeing appearing across land, sea, and air? Who wants to take that?
I'll start. I mean, I'm excited about all kinds of stuff. So, I'm excited, especially in the air. I mean, being in aerospace, starting out in aerospace, I'm excited to see automated drone-style, automated flights between, hospitals to hospitals, buildings to buildings. There's a couple of different companies here in LA that are working on that. One of them, I'll just mention it, by name quickly. I'm very excited to see Skyrise come in. It's not yet an EV organization, but I think they're trending towards the sensorification, the electrification, the technology to control, and then they'll naturally, I hope, move into the EV space. But in and around that sector, there's also companies that are complementary, starting by electrifying the actual vehicle itself, so helicopters and things like that. A company down in Orange County called Tier 1 is working on an automated R-44 helicopter that they've actually trialed out down here in Orange County. And then, on land, there's a ton of vehicles. I can hardly keep up. I mean, between what Fisker just announced the other day, Canoe, Faraday is still trying, to diversify, so wish them luck. But I just want any one of them to succeed so we can continue to have a decision on what's going on. And as far as sea, I mean, sea is probably the most challenging, area there. And we were fortunate to work with an early customer on evaluating some areas to implement battery technologies into a sea-based vehicle. But it is a challenge, man. So I'm excited to see the first real, cohesive transition to a sea-based vehicle.
Yeah, probably needs to start out with a lot of hybrid, maybe, because the battery is going to be huge, isn't it, for
Yep.
powering a big ship, a tanker as an example, which is a bit of a contradiction if I talk about tankers. But anyway, let me not go there. Great, thank you, Bill. Next question we got here is with the hold on, Ratneshwar RJ, how will you accommodate rapid changing technologies like solid batteries versus lithium ion? Who wants to take that?
You want to
I'll chime in a bit. I mean that from a non-technical side, one the approach that we're taking as EvoLectric is to in a way be technology agnostic, so that we can evolve our approach and help evolve our customers on new technology and bringing that to the roadmap and helping them do their own strategy when it comes to 5, 10, 15 years on the road.
Yeah.
So that from a business model standpoint, we're taking that approach. I don't know your thoughts, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, from a technology perspective, that's right. If we're attacking things from a system perspective, then we don't necessarily need to build a dependency on the enabling technology. We can fit in the right one at the right price point. It all comes down to application-based design principles. Like, what is the need? What's the right fit for a solid state battery and a lithium-ion battery? And what's the right price point, to your point?
Good. Let's just see. I think I've got one more for you. With the heavy subsidy, we've done that, haven't we? Have we done with the heavy subsidizing of EVs around the world? How would you hope to introduce to emerging economies? Go on, Jack. Take that.
I can take on that. I mean, it's an evolving story because every economy is going to have different needs and different approaches. So I think just the approach that we're seeing so far on the government helping subsidize some of these things and really helping drive the initiative is going to be important. So working with entities like that is going to be key for us, but also from just a strict business model, as I mentioned earlier, if we partner with companies that want to execute on leasing models and pay-per-use, so then we just gotta help them, get all the variables in place and make it financial value.
Got it. Good. That's it, gentlemen. Really, really appreciate your time. Thanks for all the intelligence into that electrification market. Very, very excited to be working with you with XDI, putting that partnership together and spreading that out into the world and across the US as well, of course. So thanks very much.
Thank you as
well. Great. Thanks, everybody. Let us say bye to Bill and Jakson, and let us jump into the news. Yes, as promised, we are starting up with Amazon Zoox. The deal has detailed a lot of new things coming through which have been announced. The deal is that in terms of purchasing self-driving car unicorn Zoox, so Amazoox, the alleged terms are 1.3 billion price, which is down from their valuation not so long back of 3.2 billion. It is the way it goes. They got a 30 million bridging loan to keep them going until closing because they were kind of running out of money. What they've done is they've created 2 key employee lists. Everybody on the first list must sign, and everybody on the second list, 19 people need to sign to put this deal together. There are 3 more employees where they're needing 90% of each to be signed on. And then for the senior managers, CTO founder Jesse Levinson gets a 3-year vesting schedule, and Aicha Evans, CEO, gets a $3.4 million bonus. I am so pleased. Zoox have done some incredible advances with autonomous driving technology. There's plenty of videos out there. You're seeing a little bit of what's going on right now. Good for you. I'm delighted when that deal comes together. That is Amazoox update. Moving on to Aurora. Aurora, also part of the Amazon backing, has announced that it will be deploying its self-driving vehicles for testing and development in Texas. A fleet of minivans will launch immediately, followed by a deployment of trucks at the end of the year. Aurora plans to use Texas commercial driving routes with Class A trucks and Fiat Chrysler Pacifica minivans. Aurora stated that Texas's role as a crucial state in the movement of goods makes it a natural place for Aurora's expanded testing. With more public road miles than any other state, Texas understands that self-driving technology will have a critical safety impact for those who drive on its roads. Next. Some of the world's most elusive and hard to find cars, whether they are older model classics or new off the line introductions, are often owned by celebrities. And of course, it's those high profile Hollywood stars who have the budget to pay for these rare gem vehicles. Well, Leo DiCaprio, for example, was one of the first to buy a very special car before anyone else had the chance. It's not it. It's not the actual multi-million-dollar ride that you might be thinking. It actually only set him back 100 grand, but he was the first one to pop it up on his outside his garage. Now, when you think of eco-friendly automakers, you may think Tesla, you may think Rivian. Well, here's one for you: Fisker. Fisker Karma. This electric luxury vehicle sedan boasts an extended range capability far beyond the current roster of available EV models on the market. And for Leo, it was that ability to take him a little bit further that sealed the deal. Talking of Fisker, let's talk IPO. The introduction will occur at simultaneously the best and worst times, I guess, coming out of COVID. So it's not going to be an easy ride for them. But another factor to consider is that it isn't technically the first time around for Fisker. They went through it before. They actually declared bankruptcy in 2013, but that wasn't before the defunct organization debuted one of the world's first luxury plug-in hybrid EVs. So promising future ahead. Let's hopefully they get through that fairly smoothly. Let's move to GM now. GM is gearing up to offer at least, wait for it, 20 new EVs by 2023. Unbelievable. Cadillac is joining the fray with its own selection of electric vehicle offerings. Heading the list up is the Cadillac Lyric EV crossover, only stated for original reveal in April, but because of COVID-19, it got a little bit delayed, and so now it'll be coming out August 6th. It's got a 300-mile range and a 33-inch OLED screen like the Cadillac Escalade. Another future Cadillac EV we've collected some info on is the Celestiq, the brand's forthcoming flagship sedan model, framed as an ultra-luxe EV with bespoke hand-assembled craftsmanship. GM says that just 1.2 units will be built per day, so very selective. We also know the exterior is inspired by the Cadillac Escala concept. It's going to be priced around 200 grand. There you go. Then there's the upcoming Cadillac SUV full size, which will come with 3 rows of seating and DNA pulled from the Escalade. It was originally believed that the full sizer would carry the Escalade nameplate, but now not too sure about that. Either way, it's got a 400-mile range. And then finally, the report is mentioning 2 other Cadillac EV models, a little bit hazy, but basically they've got a globally sized luxury 3-row SUV that emphasizes interior space and cargo capacity for the modern family, and an SUV EV with attainable luxury, similar to that of Cadillac XT4. So a lot going on down there. Sticking with GM. We don't know the final details surrounding the GMC Hummer EV. Yeah, it's coming back. The GM military vehicle division called GM Defense already sees it as a possible successor to the cult classic Humvee, very well recognized both for military and Army. Anyways, GM Defense President David Alberton told GM Authority in an interview published Monday that the Hummer EV could provide a great base platform for an electric military vehicle. 400-mile range, 1,000 horsepower, bit of a powerhouse, 1,400 pounds of torque. So let's move on. Volvo. They are shaking it up. Volvo is reportedly planning on developing a fleet of sleeker-looking crossovers to spearhead its fully electric offensive going forward, and is promising to launch an all-new EV every year up until 2025. They got it. They've really got it. They've recognized that with the battery going in the base, the engine disappearing out the front, they've got a whole new load of horizontal space and the chance to redesign automobiles going forward. Good for you guys. Hope everybody else is catching on to that as well. Quick one for you. Maserati is pulling in to the EV sector, kinda. Anyway, they've got a new one coming out. Apparently it packs a punch. It does 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. It's kind of okay. I think you can do better, Maserati. Come on, you can do that in an ICE. Anyway, that's Maserati. Let's move on. No show would be complete without Elon and Tesla. So the recent electric vehicle stock price surge is telling a real story, and that is one of massive change. The change is that electric vehicles are coming much, much, much sooner than you may think. While EV manufacturer stocks have really surged, battery manufacturers are also doing pretty well. The EV metal miners are yet to go. This presents one of the biggest investment opportunities of 2020's decade, as a tsunami of demand is hitting the EV metal miners. Tesla stock is up 8-fold over the last 14 months and is now the largest car company by market cap. Amazing. Tesla is rapidly gaining market share and is severely production constrained, as is shown by their 650,000 Cybertruck orders, not to mention backlogs on the Y, the Roadster 2, and the Semi. Keeping going with Tesla. It was, in fact, reported later this year, Tesla will be building 3 mega factories. I think the China one's kind of open already. But anyway, Tesla is now has achieved 4 quarters of consecutive profitability. Meanwhile, other pure EV plays are also booming. Take Nikola, which is up 285%, and NIO up 250%. It looks good for Fisker that we talked about a few minutes ago. So hopefully that'll push them through that wave of demand. There we go. Lithium-ion battery megafactories are being built as fast as they possibly can. I think it's 115 Leon battery megafactories either built or being planned to be by 2029. Amazing. Keeping with Tesla, Elon Musk said Tesla's energy business will end up as a flagship automotive arm, just as its Megapack or utility scale battery operation turned profitable. Tesla launched Megapack last year as its commercial entry to the grid level storage market, each unit offering 3 megawatts of storage. Elon said, I think long-term Tesla Energy will be roughly the same size as Tesla Automotive, which is not surprising given the sheer size of the energy sector. He kind of got the show on the road maybe a couple of years back. He was, I think he was talking with Australia. He would set a target by Twitter to put in backup power because of their amount of blackouts that they were getting. So he produced this battery in lightning fast time. So he's done it before and he'll continue to do it again. Self-driving cars. Yeah, why has he not produced autonomous car? I mean, he was apparently ahead of the pack, even though Waymo would argue back. Well, he says he's getting close. He addressed the World Artificial Intelligence Conference on Thursday last, saying he is confident Tesla will have the basics ready before the end of the year, just a few minor tweaks to be done. Then, Boring Company. Oh yeah, another one of those Elon ones. So he is going to be zipping cars at 150 miles an hour across the Las Vegas Convention Center. It's the first renders of the Boring Company's Las Vegas Loop Station, where passengers will be carted away by high-speed autonomous Teslas. If you've seen the video of the LA one, there's 2 cars that kind of set off. One goes down the Boring Loop, appears 2 minutes later at LAX, and then there's another guy, it takes him about 8 minutes, while the other one's drinking his coffee to get there on normal road transportation. Good solution. Take a look at the video. Then, last but not least, I think on the EV side of things, Ford. Buckle up. Things are about to get a little bit crazy. Hot on the heels of their electric 1,400 horsepower track-only Cobra Jet drag racer project, the cooks over in Ford's Special Projects division, in close collaboration with RTR Vehicles, have gone a bit mental and unleashed, yeah, you're seeing it, a ridiculous video of Mach-E street clothes over its astounding performance capabilities. Check the video out. There's squealing, which I'm sure is superimposed over the Mach-E. But it's a really interesting video, lots of fun, well worth checking out. Quick one, aerospace and defense. The Air Force's new approach to fighter development harkens back to the Cold War Century series, which created a half-dozen jet designs in less than a decade to gain an edge over improving Soviet aircraft back in the day. The new Digital Century series, brainchild of Wonderkind acquisition chief Will Roper, aims to use modular plug-and-play hardware and software, computer-aided design, and virtual modeling to simulate rapidly filled new fighter variants. Really interesting. Let's see what happens. Last up, PLM Dassault news. Last couple of stories. Dassault Q2 financial results looking good. Unaudited financial results for the second quarter and first half of ended June 30, 2020. Operating margins reflected strong operational performance. A lot of that driven by Medidata, a fairly recent acquisition. In fact, the cash flow from operations for 397 million in Q2, and for the first half of the year, 855 million euros. Construction, Dassault Systèmes and Bouygues Construction announced the next phase of their long-term commitment to reinvent the construction industry, making it more efficient and sustainable. Bouygues Construction has chosen the 3D Experience platform, yes, on the cloud to drive its business transformation with the aim to improve the productivity of its construction projects. And last but not least, Dassault has acquired Proxem, whatever they're called. They are delivering a collaborative data science experience on the 3D Experience platform. Check it out, promising acquisition. That's it. I thought we'd lost you there. I thought I lost myself there. That is it. The news is done. Next week, please come back. It's groundbreaking stuff. We actually have a partner we're coming together with, which is really shaking it up in crowdsourced engineering. It is incentivized, and we're going to be talking about all of these engineers around the world who can start coming together and really getting involved in this. Yes, that is it. Have a great week ahead. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for all your questions. Keep supporting us. Can't wait to see you then. Thanks again.